Okay, good morning, Rusty. So, right hip higher, Gary Player getting leveraged underneath the golf club. The first thing you have to look at is, and especially in your case, you have a tendency to exaggerate the pelvis getting level in this direction. So I see you very, very level at times, gets underneath this way. What I'd like to see is more of a athletic stance, and then all I'm doing is bending over from the hip joint. So the lower back, pelvis, ribs level to each other, but I'm more here. If this pelvis gets too underneath level this way, then that's going to cause things to want to stand up more at impact. We want to just be simply bent from the hips. So there, that's angled a little bit at setup. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then, if we get the pelvis set up correctly at setup, then as I stay centered on this side of the arc, wouldn't it make sense that the right side would be higher than the left? At the bottom of the arc, things would feel more level, and then on this side of the arc, the left side higher than the right. So we've got to feel that drawing up a punch movement with the proper pelvis. So it's bent from the hip, so there's an angle here. Then I draw the hip up, boom. So you can see how this is higher than this. This hip flexor is higher than this hip flexor. Now the arms are gonna pull that up, because now things are set up to go in this direction, because I'm leveraged underneath the golf club. So the right side gets really high, up, 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 and I'm supporting it. So how Gary Player describes this is he doesn't want the club rolling in here. He doesn't want it rolling in the forearms at all, this way. He wants it just to come straight back to here, and then from here, the club gets light. So the club gets light right about here. Taking it back, okay, it hits my hands, and then right about here, the club gets light. Now from here, the wrists are gonna do this. That movement from the program where we're loading. It's like if I was gonna chop wood with an axe, I'm getting leverage here to go this way. The only difference is I'm doing it from here. So that gets loaded there. So if I just turn toward you, it's right here. And that's the other reason why the upper spine, it's a mobile joint, the T-spine, that's why that, from a face-on view, I'm not going to be rounded over here. I'm going to be loaded up in this direction. Now notice I haven't changed my pelvis, and I haven't blown out my lower lumbar this way. It's just my upper spine. So feel, where does the club get light? And when I say where does it get light, it's like if this was 30 pounds instead of like a few ounces, where could I support that for a while? Okay, it's about right there. If it was over here, I couldn't support it, gravity's pulling it. If it was over here, I couldn't support it, gravity's pulling it. But right here, I've got it. I've got control of it. And then from here, the wrists are just gonna load, 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 load. So I'm getting underneath it. So what that looks like, if I go up close, it's like I'm under it. So now I've got control of it. Now I can move it where I want it and fire it back in front of me. So you can imagine where a guy like Gary Player was never lost up here. He always knew where it was, because his pelvis is set up properly. He winds up centered, and he's under the golf club. So he knows right where he's gonna move this thing. Am I gonna move it this way? Am I gonna move it this way? What am I gonna do trajectory-wise? But that's what I mean when I say getting leverage. So in summary, pelvis tilted here, level, level, but not level to the ground. Just bent over here so that the lower lumbar is in a neutral position, so it's centered between these two cylinders. Then centered, and I'm underneath it. So it's really just, where do I feel the strongest? Where do I feel like I have the most power? Where do I feel like I have the most leverage? Okay.